Dave Stewart. I teach English and history in Cedar Springs, Michigan to ninth graders. I'd like to talk to you about my all-day workshop that pertains to literacy instruction across the content areas. When I began this blog in May 2012, I had one mission. I wanted to read the Common Core state standards for myself. I know, right? It's so crazy. And I also wanted to determine how do these things actually look in a classroom and how much are possible. And I wanted to know, are these actually helpful? Since then, I've come a long way. I wrote a book on the 32 Common Core anchor standards. I've written another book on a fairly unrelated topic about teaching continual improvement. Where I'm at right now as an English and history teacher with literacy instruction is this. I think that there are a few basic moves that we as content area teachers can become excellent at. That if we do them again and again and again, will increase the long-term outcomes for our students, both those at the end of their testing cycle and those way beyond, and will not drive us insane in the process, because that, I believe, is sort of important too. Insane teachers don't teach as well as sane ones. So in the workshop, there's basically 6 acts. The initial act is where I connect with teachers and their current goals for their classroom instruction. I want the workshop to start with them. What do they hope to achieve as teachers? This is beyond standards, beyond any official answers. What are they trying to produce? Why did they get into this gig? And what does their classroom do in the lives of students in the ideal world? I then want to connect that goal with a more broad, encompassing goal that relates to literacy. So I want teachers to understand that literacy does contribute to much of what we hope for our students. I have research that I share in that segment of the presentation that helps teachers to see that while it's not all of our jobs to be blanket statement reading teachers, blanket statements, it turns out, are not super effective if you're trying to communicate a thing, but that we are all trying to produce students who can flourish in the long term, and therefore we're all trying to produce students who have some component of literacy, and every one of our classes contributes to that. In the second act, I get into my framework. It looks like this, my non-freaked out framework for literacy instruction across the content areas. And in each segment, for the rest of the workshop, we're looking at go big on argument, read purposefully and often, write purposefully and often, speak purposefully and often, and grow character. In each of these components, I'm presenting some information, some findings, showing videos from my actual instruction, and then also allowing participants in and at the end of each segment to do some of the things that I'm sharing. My goal for that workshop day is not just to dump content. I want to provide spiraling segments for participants that introduce content, put content into practice, next section, introduce content, put content from this one and the last one into practice. And so we're spiraling and deepening our grasp of all of the core concepts that are in this all-day literacy workshop. My goal for teachers at the end is that they will feel empowered to, if they're a social studies teacher, not just be a reading teacher, but to be a social studies teacher who produces students who in general can succeed in civic participation, in a freshman social studies class, in a conversation at the Thanksgiving dinner table about current events. Those are the areas of reading and writing and speaking that I want the social studies teacher focused on. Those are legitimate areas, but they're not just blanket reading teacher areas. Do you see what I mean? I often find teachers who are very opposed to this idea that we're all reading teachers now. And so I do strive to impress upon teachers the fact that that's a bit of an overgeneralization. My sessions have been successful with teachers 5 through 12. I've done elementary school, but I find that from the 5th grade on, it really becomes ideal since I've taught 6th through 12th grade. And I also find that teachers across the content areas do draw something from my sessions, but those in sort of the sweet spot of what I'm talking about would be the English, the science, the social studies, the technical subjects, the business class, those areas. So for example, music teachers, phys ed teachers, they've sat in my sessions, they've said nice things at the end, but I don't know that it's incredibly useful for them to sit through the whole thing. That I leave up to each individual client, and if you do choose to have those folks in the session, then I create examples that would suit their situation. Math teachers are another subject that districts often wonder about. I've had districts go either way, bringing the math teachers into my session, keeping them out. I think both are understandable positions to take with math teachers. I find that I have had math teachers come. In some districts it's been optional for math teachers to come, and they have, and they've appreciated it. In some districts they've been forced to come, and they've taken some things away. So a lot of the success of my session for those type of folks is the way that I approach these topics and the way that I do honor the disciplines, but also try to push us all to be more united on a literacy front. The content of this all-day workshop is something that I've written about throughout my blog over the years. Below you'll find some links that speak about each element. You'll also find some teaching points of each one of the segments that I hit in this presentation. And at the bottom you'll find a contact form. Please, if you're interested in rates or dates, go ahead and get in touch with me there. I'll be happy to speak with you over email to try to determine if myself and your organization or school are a fit. I appreciate your support of the work that I'm doing here at Teaching the Core to help teachers become not just better, but saner too, for the sake of our students and ourselves.